Mr. Chief Executive Bayo Dosumu, can I invite you to ask the mayor to make this declaration of acceptance of office, please?
Evening. Councillor Basenji, congratulations on being elected as the mayor of Lambeth. I will now invite you to read and sign the acceptance of office.
Initially, I'll be having my declaration of office first in Kurdish and then in English. من سرباز برزنجي اندامي انجمن كوقت پارێزگاری لندن لامبث هەڵبژێردراوم لێرەوە ڕای دەگەێنم کە ئەو بەرپرسیارەتە قبوڵ دەکەم و دەیگرمە ئەستۆ و بەڕێکێکی و دڵسۆزانە بەپێی باشترینی توانە ئەرکەکانی جێبەجێ دەکەم سەرجەم ئەو بڕیار ڕاستپاردانەی دایاندەم بۆ بەرژەوەندی گەل و هاوڵاتیان بن. I will now repeat in English. I, Sterbaz Barzenji, having been elected to the office of Mayor of London Borough of Lambeth, declare that I take the office upon myself and I will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you.
Council, the meeting will be adjourned for a few minutes while the incoming mayor prepares to take the chair for the rest of this evening's meeting. Please stand while we leave the chamber.
Can you please be seated or be just a few moments whilst we time and pass the room?
There was only one.
So we've had so many campaigns, but I don't think it's many.
But isn't it? It's more than one.
Yeah. So it's easy, like, so it's business. It's a driver's to the Please be seated.
The chair too far away.
Good evening, my fellow citizens of Lambeth. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to all my friends, family, colleagues who have gathered here to witness my mayor-making ceremony. As your newly elected mayor, I stand before you today with a great sense of humility and pride. Humility because I understand the enormous responsibility that comes with this position. I'm proud because I have been given an opportunity to serve the wonderful people of this diverse community. As some of you may already know, my journey to Lambeth began as a young teenager, a Kurdish refugee in search for safety and security. I arrived here with nothing but the clothes on my back and didn't even speak English. But I had a burning desire to build a better life for myself and my family. And what I found here was a community that welcomed me with open arms, a community that offered me the support and guidance I needed to get back on my feet. With the help of the community and the resources available to me here, I was able to learn the language, attend school, and pursue my dreams. And for that, I will be forever grateful. It is the same spirit of inclusivity and tolerance that I pledge to bring to my role as mayor. The Kurdish people have faced incredible hardship and oppression in their homeland. Their suffering have been well documented with countless stories of innocent civilians being killed or imprisoned for the simple crime of being Kurdish. It is a story of tragedy and resilience, of pain and hope, and yet despite all they have been through, the Kurdish people have never lost their sense of dignity, their commitment to justice, and their desire for a better future. The Kurds have faced systematic campaign of genocide, annihilation, persecution for many years. In 1988 alone, 182,000 civilian Kurds were killed and disappeared. The city of Halabja suffered the biggest chemical attack, killing thousands of innocent civilians. They have been punished for speaking their own language and expressing their own culture, including famous Kurdish MP Leyla Zana, who was imprisoned for 10 years and forced to resign as an elected MP for merely saying few words in Kurdish in the parliament. We have thousands of activists, Kurdish language teachers, elected mayors in jail as I speak to you now, merely for being Kurdish. Their struggle for freedom and equality is ongoing, and we must stand with them. As a Kurd myself, I know firsthand the struggle that my fellow brothers and sisters have endured, and that's why I took my official oath in Kurdish as well as in English, to show my solidarity and support for my fellow Kurds who are still suffering and are punished for speaking their mother tongue. I want to show the world that here in London and in Lambeth, a former Kurdish refugee like myself can become a mayor and take an official oath in Kurdish without fear of prosecution, imprisonment, or forced to resign. This further demonstrate the tolerance and welcoming nature of our city. This borough, of which I'm very proud to be a mayor, is found on shared values: freedom of speech, tolerance, respect for others, active participation in community life, and commitment to equality of opportunity. Lambeth is a wonderful place to live, work, and play. It is a city that is bursting with energy and creativity, a place where people from all walks of life can come together and call home. Lambeth is a special place for many reasons. It has a close association with the arts. The anti-slavery campaigners of 18th century were based here. One of the things that makes Lambeth so special is that many unique town centers that we have, each with its own distinct character and story to tell, from the vibrant streets of Brixton to the historic landmarks of Kennington, the peaceful parks of Clapham, alongside Streatham, Waterloo, Stockwell, and Norwood. There's always something to do, something to see, and something to explore. I firmly believe that Lambeth is a city that everyone can call home. We are a diverse community, and that is something that makes us stronger. We come from different backgrounds, cultures, religions, but we all share a common goal: to build a better, brighter future for ourselves and for our families. I'm honored to share with you today on a topic that is very close to my heart. I'm pleased to announce my chosen charities for this year are Care for Calais and Brixton Soup Kitchen. Care for Calais is a charity that primarily focuses on the most vulnerable people in our society, refugees. The people are often demonized and forgotten, and I know firsthand how difficult it can be to find a safe place to call home, especially when you are fleeing conflict, persecution, or other dire circumstances. I understand the challenges that they face and the hurdles they have to overcome to rebuild their lives. That is why I feel so passionately about supporting Care for Calais. The work they do is absolutely vital, providing everything from food and shelter to medical care and legal support for those who are most in need. My other chosen charity is Brixton Soup Kitchen, which also focuses on the homeless and less fortunate people in our community. The work they do is essential, especially during these challenging times when so many people are struggling to make ends meet. They provide thousands of hot meals to those in need, as well as offering support and advice services to help them get back on their feet. They are helping to improve the lives of those who are most in need and ensuring that everyone in our community has access to basic necessities of life and help ensure that nobody goes hungry in our city. I'm so proud to be able to support those two charities and the incredible work they do. They are a shining example of how we can all come together to support those who are most in need in our society and make a real difference to people's lives. I urge you all to support these charities in any way that you can, whether it is through volunteering your time, donating money, or simply spreading the word about their work and attending our fundraising event. Together, we can build a city that is more passionate, more inclusive, and more welcoming to everyone who call it home and where nobody is left behind. I'm deeply honored to have been elected as a mayor, and I want to thank the people of Lambeth, my councillor colleagues, for giving me this incredible opportunity to serve as your mayor. I'm humbled and honored to have your trust and support. I promise to do everything in my power to serve this community to the best of my ability, Together, we can build a better, brighter, and more inclusive future for ourselves, our children, our community, and for generations to come. Thank you. I now have my children to speak in my support. Can I call on Raha, my son?
Toilet compensation now. Toilet compensation. Toilet compensation. Lambeth Council toilet track. Students compensation.
Okay, invite kids. Invite the kids again.
Apologies. Can I now invite my son Raha to say a few words in my support? Thank you.
Good evening and hello everyone. My name is Raha and I'm excited to be here today to speak in support of my father. Today is a special day for me because my dad is becoming the mayor of Lambeth and I couldn't be more proud of him. My dad had to overcome many challenges in his life, yet despite all these difficulties that he had to face, he's always remained kind, generous and honest towards everyone. He's never given up on his dreams. He knows what it's like to struggle, but never gave up. And he's always worked hard to make a better life for himself, his family, and his community. Now he wants to give back to the community that's welcomed him with open arms. As I stand here today, I cannot help but feel a sense of pride for my dad and all that he has accomplished. I know that my dad will be a great mayor because my dad is a man of strong values. He has dedicated his life to serving others, and I am grateful for the example he set for me. I'm so lucky to have a dad like him, and I'm proud to be his son. I hope you'll join me in supporting my dad as he takes on this important role in our community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Raha. Can I now, with your permission, ask my daughter Rania to say a few words?
Hello, my name is Rani and I'm excited to be speaking to you all today on this special occasion. I'm extremely proud of my dad and all the work that he has done for our community. Today he is taking on an important role as the mayor of Lambeth and I know he'll do a fantastic job. I feel really lucky to have him as my dad. He's a great role model and he always teaches me to be kind, helpful to others and stand up for my rights. He's always there for me and my family, and I know he'll be there for the people of Lambeth too. He'll do a great job as the mayor of Lambeth. Finally, I just wanted to say how proud I am of my dad, and I know he will make a great mayor. Thank you all for being here today and supporting my dad.
Thank you. I look forward to serving the people of Lambeth in my year as a mayor, and I'm humbled to be given this honor. Thank you. We now move on to the next item of business. The next item of business is election of deputy mayor. Can I call on Councillor James Bryan to move the motion to appoint the Councillor John Paul Ennis as the deputy mayor?
Mayor, that's not a hard act to follow, is it? I'm not expecting a standing ovation, don't worry about it. So I'd just like to start by saying it's a real honour to be the first member to address the council and yourself in your mayorship. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. It was just pointed out to me by Councillor Ennis that in the absence of Councillors Costa and Curtis, he is now the youngest member in the chamber, which I think is appropriate given the role he's about to assume. Young people are a distinct community in Lambeth, and like all communities, they can be marginalised and face challenges specific to them and their experiences. It may be a community to which at some point we've all belonged and sadly will have to leave. But it forever remains our duty to struggle with the issues that affect them and shape each generation's corner of time in the world. Councillor Ennis is representative of so many of the experience of the current generation of young people in Lambeth. He's a product of our schools, our estates, our communities. Through his family, he has both historic roots in the borough and first-hand knowledge of the migrant experience. In his family and friends, he is embedded across all of our communities. His life thus far exemplifies what for many of us it is like to grow up and grow old, hopefully, in Lambeth. He will bring to the deputy mayorship the values and experience which led him to be elected as one of our youngest and most precocious councillors, representing a ward at the dynamic heart of our borough. In his work on youth safety, housing, expanding opportunity, and community organising amongst young people, Councillor Ennis recognises the priority of engaging with marginalised young people and those at the intersection of disadvantage in Lambeth. Young people are and will become Lambeth. This is their borough, this is their council, and it is proper that it should manifest their hopes and concerns in their representatives and in the mayorship. John Paul understands the awesome responsibility of the office of Deputy Mayor. What a privilege it is to be entrusted with it by his fellow councillors and the people of Lambeth. I believe he has the wisdom to use its potential to empower us all, give us all a voice, and enact the values that motivated him to stand for election before the people of Lambeth in the first place. It is my privilege to nominate a fellow Brixton North councillor, a friend and, frankly, an inspiration. I say it with a certain amount of resentment. A vote for Councillor Ennis is a vote for faith in our young people, and I urge all of you to support this motion in that spirit. Thank you.
Will Councillor Nanda Manley Brown second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And may I take this opportunity to congratulate you as you commence your mayoral year. So I second the adoption of Councillor John Paul Ennis as Deputy Mayor of Lambeth. Throughout the years I've known Councillor Ennis, I've always found him to be down to earth, approachable and helpful, all of which are essential qualities which will enable him to execute his duties and responsibilities effortlessly. As a strong advocate for young people's voices and a seasoned campaigner for affordable housing, youth safety, youth provision and climate justice, Councillor Ennis is exactly the positive role model that we hope will inspire more young people to be more engaged in public life. Since becoming ward colleagues nearly a year ago, I've witnessed firsthand the subtle but impactful way in which he engages with residents within our ward. And I have no doubt that he will continue with this approach while assisting the Mayor in carrying out the plethora of mayoral duties and responsibilities that are set to come their way. Being the youngest Deputy Mayor in Lambeth's rich and diverse history is no mean feat. However, I'm sure that Councillor Ennis will embrace this new chapter with an open and inquisitive mind, using his lived experience as a lifelong Lambeth resident to guide him every step of the way. Warmest congratulations, Councillor Ennis, on this auspicious and historic occasion, and best wishes for your year as Deputy Mayor.
Is the motion to appoint Councillor John Paul Ennis as Deputy Mayor for London Borough of Lambeth for 2023-24 agreed? As there were no other nomination or dissent, I am pleased to declare that Councillor John Paul Ennis is elected Deputy Mayor for ensuing municipal year. Mr. Chief Executive, could I invite you to ask Deputy Mayor to make his declaration of acceptance of office, please?
Again. Do you, Councillor John Paul Ennis, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the London Borough of Lambeth, declare that you will take your office upon yourself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties of it according to the best of your judgment and ability? I do.
Congratulations, Councillor Ennis. I look forward to working with you over the next year. Moving on to the next item, the retiring mayor's report. I'd like to call the former worship mayor, Councillor Pauline George, to present her outgoing report to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 10 minutes. I would like to call on Dr. Dayo Kolomu to take the first 3 minutes, and then I'll give the remaining 7 minutes.
Your Worship, the Mayor, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cabinet members, Chief Executive, and the immediate past Mayor, Councillor Pauline George. I stand before you today to honor our esteemed immediate past Mayor, our worshipful Councillor Pauline George. On our last day in office, Councillor Pauline George's dedication, passion, and energy in serving as the mayor of Lambeth has been exceptional. She has worked tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of people she serves, and her commitment to the charities she chose to support, Juvenile and Pending Charity, is a testament to her compassion to those in need. As the master of ceremony at the event organized to raise funds for these charities, I can attest to the hard work, attention to detail, and passion she brought to this event. Our efforts have helped to promote dignity for the elderly worker and offer support and advice to London's young people, making a real difference in their lives. Our dedication to our work has not gone unnoticed. She has been recognized and honored with several awards for her service to the community. Starting as a nurse, she went on to study law before joining politics to serve our community. As a specialist NHS nurse, she has worked tirelessly to help our community during the pandemic. During her almost 4-year tenure as a councillor, she fought against knife and gun crime and worked to create new opportunities for young people. She has also been focused on combating despair, private and council tenants, tackling rubbish, littering, and fly tipping. I want to express our gratitude to Councillor Pauline George for our dedicated service to our community. Our contribution has made a lasting impact, and we are grateful for the time you spent as a mayor. In closing, I would like to end this speech with an Irish blessing that says, "May the Lord Christ greet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine upon your face and rain fall upon your field. And once we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands." Additionally, I want to dedicate Councillor Pauline's long favorite song. Can anybody remember? You can get it if you really want it. The lyrics remind us of that with hard work and perseverance, we can achieve anything we set out to achieve. Thank you very much, Councillor Pauline George, for your dedicated service, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll try not to be emotional. It has been a great honor and privilege for me to serve you as the mayor of the London Borough of Lambeth, which I consider to be one of the best boroughs in London. During my tenure, I have had opportunities to travel across various parts of the borough and meet amazing people of different backgrounds. I have formed alliance, appreciable and lasting relationship with London Mayor 2022-2023. I believe in the strength of diversity, which is one of the London Borough of Lambeth's greatest strengths. I have done over 195 events and raised 7,400 for my choosing charity, Pen and Juvenile. Over 250 languages are spoken in London, making the capital the most linguistically diverse city in the world. And I want to let you know, according to the Office of Statistics, that we speak over 150 languages in the London Borough of Lambeth. Isn't that amazing? It was my duty to actualize this and represent all residents equally. I hope that I have fulfilled the trust you placed in me. I always let our residents know that we actualize diversity from birth to the age of 18 years. We encourage parents to educate their children. From 18 to 35, we encourage them to have a career. From 35 to 60, we encourage them to be established. And in the London Borough of Lambeth, life begins at 60. If you are less than 60, you are still in the womb because I'm a midwife. I can tell you, you're still kicking. Continue to enjoy yourself. And when you get to 60, don't go down and realize and change your career at any time. So start enjoying. I have had an amazing year, which I have cherished for and I will cherish for my life, the rest of my life. Thank you all for giving me such a great opportunity. I would like to say thank you to the Chief Executive, Mr. Bayo Dosumu, leader of the council, Claire Holland, Councillor Claire Holland, whom I believe is the most pragmatic leader in London. So, the legal committee, especially Mr. Raymond Prince, the incredible dialogue room, to the wonderful, dedicated, and cheerful Clara and Nanda from the Democratic Services Office. It's been a delight working with both of you, and I really appreciate you. Mr. Finn, our IT guru, thank you. Mr. Renanges Tosi, sorry if I don't pronounce your name well, or you know who you are, from Democratic Services, thank you. The wonderful welcoming security staff, particularly George and Austin, my fellow councillors, in particular, Jim Dixon and Deepa Sadiwal, for putting up with me and the NU dealing with the resident members' inquiry. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. The three Lambeth MP for their amazing support. Every event, they try to be there for me. Henry Mays, Florence Asolomi, and Ben Roberto Adi. I feel so privileged to be part of them and for them for the support they always give me. They gave me great support. My driver, Roland Iyekepolo, Shiraz, and Sean Bigos for their wonderful service. I miss you all. We have had some really amazing fun and miracle time. All the staff of the council, the schools, organizations, many charities and communities, I have had this privilege to meet, a great privilege. Thank you to my chaplain for their incredible support. Pastor Bola Mobrai, MBE, Father Roy Joseph, thank you. Pastor David Followisho. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the CEO of my charity, Pastor Councillor Shade Drive from Penny Charity, and Mr. Wilson Goddess from Jemeni Charity. You are doing a great work. Please keep it up. You will always have my support. Thank you to Ennis Restaurant, amazing gastronomy. You have introduced jollof rice and plantain to the entire Lambeth Council. Yum, yum. Thank you to Damian Joplin. He had a great time, he did, working together during the British citizen. I could not have accomplished all of this without all your support. Serving as the mayor has enhanced my insight. Thank you. It's been great. I must not forget to thank my children and my grandchildren, my brothers, the rest of my family and friends, most especially Martina, Juliana, and Emmanuel, my amazing children, for putting up with me and supporting me throughout. Your strength and fortitude is incredible. Moisha and Juliana, you have been the best consult in the world. My latest granddaughter, Brenna, Big Mommy, we will now spend more time with you. I can be a good grandmother. I am happy to be handing over to Councillor Sebas, who has been a great deputy mayor. We have worked so hard together that I call him my nephew. He is well up to this new role as the first citizen of Lambeth. I believe he would make an excellent mayor. My congratulations to you, Mr. Mayor Sebas Baluchi. I'm happy that I have been appointed as the championing for prevention of youth violence, because everyone knows that the welfare of the youth means a lot to me. Thank you to our great leader, the most pragmatic leader in London. I call all of you to say thank you so much, so we can ensure we support our youth to reach their greatest potential and prevent reduction, if possible, eradicate youth violence. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor George. Can I call Councillor Nico Griffiths to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Oh, well, what to say, Madam Mayor, I know you're, well, Councillor George, you have brought a uniqueness and joyful spirit to the role that we truly appreciate. Scott's not here this evening, he's not well, but he's asked me to pass on his thanks and good wishes, in addition to his appreciation for an excellent experience at the Jack Petrie Awards at Dunraven School recently, which he shared with you. When you filled the room with joy and laughter by leading the entire audience in song. Also, I want to thank you for your continued support of Lambeth's amazing students when you took part in the recent school debating competition in this chamber not so long ago. And thank you for all the hard work that you do for all of our young people and the community, and for choosing your 2 nominated charities, enabling the extra support for the incredible work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I call Councillor Donna Harris to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please let me take this opportunity to welcome you on behalf of the Liberal Democrat Group to the Chair and the Mayoralty.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome Councillor Ennis as your Deputy. The Lib Dem Group are very much looking forward to working with both of you this coming year. Thank you. Well, I'd like to spend a moment or two to acknowledge the excellent work that Councillor George has pursued over the last year as Mayor. But firstly, I'd like to make note of the fact Councillor George has brought much style, flair, colour and exuberance to the Chamber this year, which will be undeniably hard to match. However, the work Councillor George has achieved with her chosen charities has been even more impressive for both Pennu and Juvenis. Both charities take care of the needs of well-being of individuals, but they do so at opposite ends of life. Pennu as a charity is committed to promoting good health and well-being for the elderly. Juvenis gives much needed support to the young in our community through positive activities, one-to-one mentoring, along with personal development and life skills workshops. I'm in no doubt Councillor George will have shown much compassion and kindness to the elderly and their needs. In the same vein, I sense she will have been an excellent role model for young people, both sharing and showing what indeed is achievable in life, and especially here right in Lambeth. On a more sombre note, I'm very much aware of the sadness felt by Councillor George on the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. I have been told by others that Councillor George was a stalwart supporter and felt great sadness and loss of someone who had been present throughout all her life. Although the Queen's passing was a huge personal loss, I also know Councillor George was honoured to be part of the proclamation ceremony in Windrush Square last year, along with fellow members. Thank you, Councillor George, for all you have done in the past year, and we very much look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I call Councillor Claire Holland to say a few words?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and huge congratulations to you, Mr. Mayor. I know that you're making your family and your community and everyone here in the chamber tonight really proud. And I have to say that your children clearly must make you and your beautiful wife proud, because they absolutely stole the show. So well done, Raha and Rania, you're amazing. I really welcome this opportunity to celebrate Madam Mayor's year in office. And it truly has been an extraordinary year, which Madam Mayor has more than matched with her extraordinary commitment and energy. I'm not sure any of us quite realised what momentous events would come to pass and make this year one never to forget. From the joy of our community street parties celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee and the national public mourning following her death, to the proclamation of Prince Charles as King, which we did do in the uniquely Lambeth way in Windrush Square with the Youth Steel Band playing Dancing Queen, to the marking of Remembrance Sunday and Holocaust Memorial Day. Madam Mayor has had to step forward as our first citizen and represent our borough at both the best and the saddest of times. And Madam Mayor, you have done so with dignity and poise. And of course, with your beautiful and beloved Gele. And a word you have taught me this year, and I hope I do the pronunciation as much justice as you have done, celebrating with pride the diversity of our wonderful borough. I was delighted to attend your annual mayoral dinner and prize giving in honour of your chosen charities, Pennu and Juvenis, charities which we know reflect priorities held dear to your heart, caring for our elders and giving young people who have faced difficult times a helping hand. And I was honoured to witness you receiving Outstanding Woman of the Year at the 17th Neelas Academy Awards with colleagues Jim Dixon and Linda Bray. And whether it has been your civic faith celebration here at the Town Hall, or Small Business Saturday in the freezing cold of Streatham Market, and it was freezing cold, it was Baltic, you have approached all your engagements with the same level of preparation, dedication and serious intent. And even if at times with a little twinkle in your eye, and none more so than when you've been at events with young people, teaching them what your mother taught you. And it's already been referred to more than once tonight, that amazing song, and I can't sing it because that would ruin what has otherwise hitherto been a beautiful evening, but you have sung it with so many young people on so many occasions. And we all know the words, that you can get it if you really want, but you must try, try, try. You'll succeed at last. Now, Councillor Manley Brown says Jimmy Cliff originally sang the song. I'm giving a shout out for Desmond Decker because I believe that he's buried in Streatham Vale, which basically makes him our local lad. Whoever it was, it will forever now be known as your song, Madam Mayor. So congratulations on a massively full mayoral year. I am in awe of your boundless energy. And I want to say a huge thank you to Roland, to Deputy Lieutenant Christopher Wellbeloved, to Mandy and Wayne and everyone at Dem Services who have been wonderful as they always are in supporting the Mayor. And of course, I wish to thank you, Madam Mayor, for your tireless work for the people of Lambeth during your time of office. So congratulations on your year and thank you very much.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Councillor George for her service and have the pleasure of presenting her with the past mayor's badge on behalf of council.
If you really want, but you must try, 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 try and try. You succeed at last. Thank you.
That concludes the ceremonial part of the meeting. We now have a few more items of business to deal with, but before we move on, please accompany the Deputy Lieutenant to the Mayor's Parlour for my reception, and I will join you shortly. Yes, all the guests, if you could make your way to the Mayor's Parlour for my reception, and I will join you.
Ask them to be quickly. With the still otherwise it's going to take forever. Most of them are gone. Let's start.
My children, I'll just want them to sit there. So I could just by sitting in the kitchen.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Let me just speak to them to stay there.
Stay.
Item 4 is declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any councillor wish to make a declaration of interest of any business before the council meeting tonight? Nobody has indicated, so we will move on to the next business item of business. Are the minutes of the meeting held on 1st of March agreed as a correct record? Thank you. The minutes from the 1st of March 2023 meeting are confirmed as a correct record. Apologize for absence have been set out on the order paper. If there are any more, please inform Democratic Services after the meeting. Thank you. Council, we now turn to agenda item 7. We now move to the Leader of the Council, Cabinet, Portfolios, other administration and opposition appointments report, which set out at the agenda item 8. Councillor Griffith, Brian, Holland have indicated they wish to speak on this item. Councillor Griffith, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can I just take this opportunity to welcome you and congratulate you on your appointment. We are very proud to have you as our Mayor. Thank you. So even though the Green Group believes the residents of this borough would be best served by a committee system of governance, we're pleased to see the continuity of roles in the Cabinet. It's best for everyone that Cabinet members embedded in their roles and on top of their portfolios stay in place. Last year, Councillor Ainsley recommended reading Kate Raworth's book, Donut Economics. She's regarded as the John Maynard Keynes of the 21st century by George Monbiot. Her approach chimes with the direction of travel the Council wishes to go in to deal with the majority of 21st century issues, showing how we can improve the lives of many whilst, crucially, living within our planetary limits by being more inclusive, equitable and genuinely sustainable in our approach. We can create that more equal, happier, healthier society that we all wish to live in. I have concerns about certain strategies and the borough plan that have been published recently. They create the illusion of a visionary steady ship, but the lack of detailed planning fails to persuade me that this council has the means by which to succeed in their vision. I'm concerned that the council is unable to deliver on these well-meaning reports. Now more than ever, our residents need and deserve action that leads to real change. We need to match idealism with action. We can't say we're making Lambeth a place we can all call home in one breath and show council tenants the door when they can't pay their staggeringly high energy and rent increases in the next. We can't say we're making Lambeth neighbourhoods fit for the future whilst failing to provide genuinely affordable social homes at speed. 2030 is just over 6 years away. I sincerely hope that this year we take the lead, as we did in 2019, declaring climate and ecological emergency by joining other councils across the country named by Friends of the Earth that have made tangible progress on net zero. Derry Council, for example, is one of the first councils in Europe to have a dedicated zero-waste circular economy strategy. This is something Lambeth could do, so why aren't we? Nottingham City Council has raised millions for better transport in the local area through its workplace parking levy, another green idea rejected by the Labour group. Let's build on the work we did together on the motion to atone and begin a reparative justice process. A great achievement of Lambeth and one we must continue to act on to deliver a safer, fairer, cleaner, greener, healthier and more equitable society. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brand, you have 3 minutes.
And the right button, sorry. It's been a while. Mr. Mayor, I'd similarly like to congratulate you on your appointment as Mayor and also welcome the appointment of Councillor Ennis as Deputy Mayor. I particularly applaud your choice of mayoral charities and wish you both a very productive year. We also note the leaders' appointments to Cabinet and their portfolios, and as Councillor Griffiths has said, it is the same old faces. But we've been through a turbulent period in the last 11 months. Indeed, since the last annual council meeting, I think we've had 4 chancellors of the Exchequer, 3 prime ministers, 2 monarchs. So I think we could all do with a little bit of stability. In terms of the Liberal Democrat group, our priorities for the year ahead are firstly, getting a grip on housing repairs. Secondly, looking to the council to make meaningful progress towards a greener and healthier neighbourhoods, but also one that actually takes the whole population with us. And finally, improving the way that the council both consults with and listens to local residents. We know that these are all integral to the borough plan and look forward to the administration addressing these issues. We also hope that the leader and cabinet will keep open the lines of communication with opposition groups that have existed in the past year. Also, invoking the newfound spirit of pragmatism that Councillor George has highlighted, I would like to make one little plea, I suppose, that the scrutiny subcommittees and committees within the council should have a greater role in scrutinising decisions before they are taken. One of my observations of the last year is that we are mostly presented with a fait accompli scrutiny, and the scrutinising things after a decision has been taken, with little opportunity to influence decisions before they're taken by Cabinet. In conclusion, the Liberal Democrat Group looks forward to working with colleagues from across all opposition parties, all parties, in the coming municipal year.
Thank you. Councillor Holland, you also have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We stood on a bold manifesto when the people of Lambeth put their trust in Labour last May. We pledged to repay that trust and deliver on their priorities. And what a year of delivery we've had. We've taken back control of leisure services, retaining the previous concessions and adding lots more benefits. We were the first borough in London to commit to treating care experience as a protected characteristic. We made the tough decision to bring housing delivery back in-house. We built the first council homes in a generation and now can deliver more new homes for our residents who so desperately need them. We have set a budget which stands up for the people of Lambeth, protecting frontline services and supporting those hardest hit by the Tories, rolling out one of the largest cost of living packages in the UK. And whilst this government has sought to dehumanise refugees, we are proud to have become a borough of sanctuary, honouring our history from Windrush to Syria, Afghanistan and Ukraine, welcoming all to our borough to ensure everyone can call Lambeth home. Creating safer, healthier and more equitable neighbourhoods, we have launched our internationally recognised curbside strategy and have already exceeded the number of trees we said we'd plant this season. And just this week launched the biggest community parklet programme in London. And we have stood by our communities in the face of tragedy, welcoming the IOPC announcement that they have referred the case of Chris Cabba to the CPS. And we will continue to hold the police to account and fight for a Met that's safe for all our residents and free of institutional racism, misogyny and homophobia. Last month, we published our new borough plan, looking to our future, our Lambeth 2030, a vision shaped by our residents and rooted in our values, a borough with social and climate justice at its heart. And that's just our first year, Mr. Mayor. With our new vision and building on our proud record of delivery, we must continue to make the changes our residents deserve. To proactively tackle inequalities so that everyone can feel safe and can thrive in a place of opportunity, we need the strongest team possible. Which is why I'm delighted to commend to Council tonight my Cabinet, Deputy Cabinet, Policy Lead and Champion appointments. More representative, more diverse than ever before. Because if we are going to deliver, if we are to build a just and equal borough for 2030,
You have 30 seconds.
we must draw on all the talents and strength of our diversity. That is what makes us uniquely Lambeth. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council is now asked to note the report and the appointments. Thank you. The report and appointments have been noted. The next report, agenda item 8, set out the political balance of council and the allocation of group places on each committee. Councillors Griffith, Bryan and O'Hara have been indicated they wish to speak on this item. Councillor Griffith, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So seats on committees are allocated according to a proportionality that reflects the number of councillors elected within a political group, rather than the proportion of the vote received in the election. Whilst opposition groups are allocated seats on the main committees, we are in Groundhog Day, as I find myself making the same observations as I did last year, because once again, neither of the opposition groups has been offered either the chair or vice chair role on any of the scrutiny committees. According to the Constitution, the administration doesn't have the sole power to allocate these roles. Yet, once again, the opposition groups have been steamrolled over. It would be fairer and more democratic for these chairing roles to reflect the proportion of the vote received at last year's election, when a third of the borough voted for the opposition parties represented in the chamber today, 22% for the Greens, 11% for the Liberal Democrats. Scrutiny committee members are there to critically review and scrutinise council decisions and policies signed off by the cabinet members of this Labour-run administration. Cabinet members are not allowed to sit on the scrutiny committees for obvious reasons, yet the 4 scrutiny committees have each been allocated Labour group chair or vice chair. Therefore, basically, marking your own homework. Not so long ago, the situation was different. In a leaflet about scrutiny in Lambeth, published in 2009, we read that some of the committees are chaired by members of the opposition. It has been long established that best value is achieved when scrutiny is chaired by an opposition councillor. Labour government's guidance from 2006 stated that where there is a majority group, local authorities should consider giving the chair to members outside of the majority group. Concerns have been raised by both the National Audit Office and the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Commons, a select committee that in 2018 had a Labour chair because of the importance of scrutiny from opposition parties, about the dangers of poor scrutiny. In their 2015 report, Hiding in Plain Sight, Barriers to Effective Council Scrutiny, the Centre for Public Scrutiny says, the best, most confident leaders accept and welcome challenge as helping them improve what they do. It's in this spirit that we have consistently approached the administration to accept a Green Group councillor to at least be a vice chair on scrutiny. Sadly, at no time has this been agreed, and the council and its leadership is poorer for it. More than a fifth of Lambeth residents voted Green. The makeup of the council would be very different if we had proportional representation. So I encourage colleagues of the Labour group to do the right thing. Insist that opposition councillors not only sit on all 4 scrutiny committees, but also have the opportunity to act as chair or vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brand, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In looking at the allocation of seats to political groups, the Liberal Democrat group notes the logic and fairness of the calculations in terms of legislation, with a division of seats based on the election results from last year. However, I would also reiterate the point made by Councillor Griffiths that we find it scandalous, and probably previously made by us, that it's scandalous that the 48% of voters who did not support the Labour Party in the elections last year were represented by just 7 out of 36 councillors on these committees. It's also regrettable that the motion on electoral reform that the Green Group brought to Council last July did not secure wider support. We're of the fundamental belief that scrutiny should be well apportioned, and the obvious place to conduct these checks and balances is in the scrutiny committees that we and our Green colleagues sit on. However, to ensure that effective scrutiny is achieved, we also are of the view that opposition members should chair these committees. We will continue to use our places on these committees in the year ahead to hold the administration to account. We know that more can be done to improve transparency and accountability in this council and in its decision making, and that will be our guiding principle in the year ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Hara, you also have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I knew I would say that. And may I also welcome you to your new role and your year ahead in Lambeth. I want to address the point that both the Lib Dems and the Greens have made about the allocation of seats. So, in fact, the seats are allocated on the basis of the seats won in the election, which is 92% to the Labour group, rather than on the basis of the votes polled. But on that basis, I am sorry to say that the Tories would have polled more seats than the Lib Dems. So it might be the job of the other parties to gripe, but for the sake of accuracy, I want to be clear here. We are continuing to go above and beyond here in Lambeth. Offer to the minority parties is for additional representation. It's in excess of the statutory requirements. We are giving up 4 of the seats allocated to the Labour group, to the majority group, and offering these to the opposition parties. And in addition, offering seats on the other committees outside of those requirements. So that includes licensing and pensions board, for example, to increase representation on most bodies. So I think we can be proud of our thoughtful and challenging scrutiny committees working across our key areas of delivery, and that they include representation from our opposition parties. And we can be confident that scrutiny and proper representation are not only maintained but are thriving here in Lambeth.
Thank you. Council is now asked to vote on the recommendations set out on page 31 of the agenda supplement. Please raise your hand if you are voting for. Please lower your hand. Please raise your hand if you are voting against. Please raise your hand if you wish to abstain. Thank you. The recommendation as set out on page 31 of the agenda are approved. The next item of business this evening is in relation to the Council Constitution for 2023-24. Updates to the committee membership appendix have been tabled and will be published following the meeting. Councillor Griffith, Harris and O'Hara have indicated they wish to speak on this item. Councillor Griffith, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the word democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. So democracy can be thought of as power of the people, a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. Yet some of these proposed changes to the Constitution are quite the opposite of this, and certainly do not contribute to the administration's undertaking to be a cooperative council and ensure the Constitution reflects that approach. Such as restrictions being placed on public notice questions, only 1 per person and restricted content. I quote, questions must be strategic in nature and may not request factual information that can be sought by other means. An unclear statement that's open to individual interpretation. It assumes that all residents are able to access information from elsewhere, which is simply not the case. This is a blatant attempt to control the content of questions when residents have every right to ask for information and answers which are not always readily available elsewhere. Why will the leader only be reporting on urgent actions every 6 months instead of 3? A move which reduces the ability for members to hold both the leader and the actions to account. Again, undemocratic. Motions to full council meetings to be no longer than 800 words. What is the thinking behind this? We looked back over past motions. The average length is closer to 850 words. The climate emergency motion was 801. It's also not clear if the 800-word restriction is before or after amendments. Motions vary in length from 400 to 1500 words, depending on the subject matter. And it's both unnecessary and undemocratic to control content in this way. There's a similar word count restriction for members' questions, which actually isn't clear. Is it 75 or 100? Which is it? What is clear is that it's another attempt to control what members ask under the guise of timekeeping, when it's not the original questions that need to be kept short, but supplementary questions and the Cabinet members' responses. In the spirit of democracy and a council that better reflects the voting intentions of Lambeth residents, we've approached the Labour group for a seat on the Constitutional Working Group, and we very much hope that this request is granted, so all members have the chance to have their views and suggestions heard about the Constitution moving forward. After all, no single party has a monopoly on wisdom, and we think our contributions would only enhance the Constitution. In the new borough plan, we are told about the administration's commitment to make Lambeth a borough of equity and justice, that by 2030, Lambeth will be a fair and equitable borough which seeks and delivers justice through all that it does. About bold ambitions and building the future of Lambeth that will require the council, residents and other stakeholders to work together to make them a reality. But how does this marry with lessening access to democratic processes? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Harris, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The amendments to the Constitution include some extremely salient and welcome additions, which the Liberal Democrat group support. The social media guidance of particular importance and way overdue in our opinion. It is really quite sad that any of us should need to be reminded not to take to social media when we feel tired or emotional, but this new addition to the Constitution is a good reminder nonetheless. So although it appears obvious, I encourage members to read and absorb the guidance properly and not to assume that they know all. And for all our sakes, let's not make the same errors of judgment like some of those who have gone before us right here in this chamber. Council members must at all times reflect the values which we want to see grow and prosper within Lambeth as a whole, always treating our constituents and each other with dignity and respect, and there should be no difference between our online and offline interactions. We are here to serve, not to wield any inflamed sense of self or power over others, which leads me nicely onto another of the amendments, scrutiny. Scrutiny is a key democratic mechanism for holding public service, decision-making and providers in Lambeth to account, and for facilitating the improvement of public services in the area, as per our Constitution. Whilst Lambeth Labour hold the administration, residents not vote for an administration with unchecked power. At the AGM, which followed last May's elections, Councillor Hara said, "We at Lambeth Labour value democracy. We want to be held to account for our decisions." This is exactly what the Liberal Democrat group wanted to hear, along with the other 48% of Lambeth voters who did not back Labour in those elections. This last year, the Lib Dems and the Greens have submitted 2 applications for call-ins. However, both were rejected on technicalities. The only thing here scrutinised appears to be our work. If call-ins are going to be struck out on technicalities, we need access to training which would help us avoid this from happening again in the future. The Liberal Democrat group want to ensure we are able to provide the best possible outcomes for all our residents at all times. And finally, the Lib Dem group take no issue with the limiting of wording on both council motions and council questions. However, in the past year, some of our answers to council questions have been far from fully rounded or complete in their response. Therefore, I would like to remind Cabinet members and committee members, we are here as representatives of our constituents and should be afforded the subsequent respect when receiving answers on their behalf. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara, you also have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, the Constitution is a living document responding to the changing needs of the borough. And I would like to commend the changes, simplifying and streamlining the scrutiny process, updating the Health and Wellbeing Board, and the fruits of the already cross-party Constitutional Working Group that have produced guidance, as Councillor Harris mentioned, on social media practice, and also an improved complaints form for residents to improve accountability. And I would like to extend thanks on behalf of all members, if I may, to officers for their assiduous work in producing these documents. And I do, of course, stand by my commitment to scrutiny and accountability.
Thank you. Councillors now asked to vote on the recommendations set out on page 41 and 42 of the agenda. Please raise your hand if you are voting for. Please raise your hand if you are voting against. Please raise your hand if you wish to abstain. Thank you. The recommendation as set out on pages 41 and 42 of the agenda are approved. We now move to item 10, which is Members' Allowance Scheme. Councillor Griffiths, Bryans, Robson have indicated they wish to speak on this item. Councillor Griffiths, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At a time when the council is facing huge cuts from central government, the ruling Labour group continues to not only mark its own homework, but is paying itself handsomely for it. The Green Group does not consider that so many additional special responsibility allowances are necessary, and once again urge the council to reassess current posts and the financial remuneration made for them, or at least show us the value for money. Can we suggest a mechanism be put in place to prove that residents are getting value for money? For example, in Islington, the council has a policy and performance scrutiny committee. We could do the same here. The increase in members' allowances is very welcome. The justification for increased council allowance has always been to make our positions more accessible and inclusive for anyone who wants to represent the people of Lambeth, regardless of income or economic background. However, special responsibility allowances for roles only available to members of the administration exclude opposition members, dispossessing them of the democratic right to further represent our residents. Does this sound like democracy in action? Leaders of the opposition parties continue to receive less in allowances than the chairs of the planning and overview and scrutiny committees, roles denied us. These chairing roles are demanding, but unlike being an opposition councillor, they are not roles that must be fulfilled on a daily basis. Green councillors are committed to serving their constituents and advocating for policies that have the well-being of all people and the environment at their heart. We work tirelessly, without the level of support or remuneration as the Labour administration, to serve the people of Lambeth and attempt to shape a better and more just borough for all. It's to the disadvantage of all Lambeth residents that the majority seems committed to thwarting our democratic efforts, and I very much hope I will not be saying the same thing next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bryan, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item that we're discussing here amalgamates two separate issues, I think, that each require an equal amount of scrutiny. On the one hand, we are content with proposals that are put forward to increase the basic members allowance and also a pro rata increase in the SRAs. There is no doubt that all councillors of all political parties we know work tirelessly for their constituents and communities, often going beyond the call of duty. And it should be our duty as current councillors to ensure that the representation in this chamber is as diverse as possible. And that means that nobody considering or looking to stand for office should be deterred on grounds of finance by not feeling recompensed for the work that they're doing. Thus, the proposals that have been put forward at that level are acceptable as they bring Lambeth into line with other London boroughs. However, on the other hand, as we were last year and as we set out in our alternative budget, our group are still not happy and not satisfied with the sheer number of special responsibility allowances that are given out by the party in power, and as referenced by Councillor Griffiths. And this is a point we have made previously. I noticed actually the number has increased by one this year with another special policy lead of some sort. at a time when all budgets are tightened, the justification for these needs to be looked at. The cost here in Lambeth is over £500,000 to be spent this year. That's £50,000 more than Camden, which is Labour controlled, £164,000 more than Lewisham, which is also Labour controlled, and over £200,000 more than Tower Hamlets, formerly Labour controlled, I believe, and staggeringly over £300,000 more than Lib Dem controlled Richmond. It is for that reason that we as a group are unable to support this proposal in its entirety this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robson, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just share my colleagues' congratulations and welcoming you to your position, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what amazing work you're going to be doing over the year. Lambeth rightly prides itself on its diversity, and I'm thrilled that the Lib Dems agree that our diversity must be reflected, represented and maintained in the chamber. And when I say diversity, it's not only diversity of ethnicity, religion, sexuality, ableness, class or gender, but also a diversity of professions, skills, experience and background. Our pool of current and prospective councillors should not be restricted to wealthy individuals who can afford the sacrifices involved with being a local councillor. That is a Tory policy that leads to many issues, with a lack of equality, diversity, inclusion being just one of them. In Lambeth, equity and justice are at the heart of all we do, and a failure to recognise and react to the struggles of our many councillors threatens to undermine those core values. I'm really proud to be speaking in favour of these proposals to give the members the first rise in allowances in 13 years, as I, like many others in this chamber, have not been immune to the cost of living crisis. Now, as some of you may or may not know, I've been a DJ for 20 years, a profession which I've loved, has opened many doors and allowed me to play in some of London's most iconic LGBTQ spaces, many of which I'm proud to say are in Lambeth. But when I was elected last May, I decided, the hangovers had nothing to do with it, Mr. Mayor, that it was time to hang up my headphones from weekly residencies so that I could focus on the different needs and issues presented in the ward of Clapham Town. Though I must say, I am still available for weddings, mayor makings and coronations. Since the local elections of 2022, we've had the disastrous experiment that was Trussonomics, sending the markets into total crisis, crippling inflation, and a shameful lack of action from central government to address increasing inequalities. As a result of the Tories' fiscal carelessness and their refusal to even acknowledge the nation's housing crisis, let alone do anything about it, I stand here tonight in front of you all, not knowing if the flat that I've called home for 14 years and have built a life in and rented will be my home next week. And that is due to spiring private rents pricing me out of the ward and constituency I love. And it isn't just me, councillors, particularly over the past few months, as this cost of living crisis has intensified, many colleagues are experiencing the same uncertainties, where the immense privilege, honour and responsibility of representing our communities and residents across the borough is rapidly coming at a cost that is too great to ignore. And I'll wrap up now, Mr. Mayor. Lambeth Labour believes in the importance of a diverse group of representatives, a chamber that looks like the communities we serve, supporting colleagues who are struggling and making sure that those from our hardest hit groups still see being a local councillor and speaking up for their communities as a viable option. We are on the side of people in Lambeth, and we mustn't forget that our councillors are not an exception to that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors now asked to vote on the recommendations set out on page 417 of the agenda. Please raise your hand if you are voting for. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you are voting against. Please raise your hand if you wish to abstain. Thank you. The recommendation as set out on page 417 of the agenda are approved. Thank you. That concludes the voting on all businesses this evening. Thank you for attending this evening. Please join me and my guests at my reception in the parlor. Our next meeting takes place on 12th July 2023. Good night.